Okay, so you've got that perfect piece of furniture. There's only one problem. You're not entirely in love with the handles or knobs that are on it. Or worse yet, there's some that are broken or missing. What do? Well, keep watching this video and I'm going to show you how we fix that problem. I'm going to get some tools, so let's get started. So stay tuned. Hey guys, this is Paul with Coastal Upcycling, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today in this video. Now, if this is your first time here, we'd like to welcome you to subscribe to this channel and share it with a friend. Hit that little bell and you'll be notified the very next time I add a video up to YouTube. Okay, so there can be lots of reasons why you're going to want to swap out the hardware, knobs, handles, pulls, etc. on your piece of furniture. It really is the quickest, easiest, and cheapest way to change the look of not only your furniture piece, but of your entire room. Take out some old brass handles and replace them with some pretty crystal ones, and now you've got an elegant looking piece of furniture. Now when it comes to knobs, it's not that big of a deal, right? All you have to do is just unscrew one knob and replace it with another. Unless you're in the instance that we're in. I've got this gorgeous Thomasville dresser that we're doing. The top 3 drawers have a drop pendant handle. So 2 of those were missing. So now I've got to go back, and the easiest thing to go back with are knobs. But the knob hole on my dresser is much higher than what I'd like. If I put the knobs in where the hole is, it's going to look weird. The knob is going to be way up to the top of the drawer, and that's not what I want. So I've got to drop that hole by about a ½ inch, and I need them to look uniform all the way down, just as if the manufacturer intended those drawers to have knobs. So that's what we're going to work on. Let's get started. Hardware replacement. So here we've got a drawer, and as I was explaining in other parts of the video, it came with a drop handle or pendant drop pull here. Okay, so if you can see, this hole right here is a little bit too high. I need to drop it down here somewhere to be right in the middle of the face of the drawer. I'm going to go off of this little curvature here, and I'm going to measure to the center of that hole, and to me that looks like 5 9/16. So we're going to get this piece of tape, and we're going to put it right there. Doesn't matter, just anywhere. Boom, as long as it's nice and flat. Right here where we suspect the new hole. So I want to measure 5 9/16 and mark that on my tape. Somewhere down here, right where I think the hole is going to go. Next, we're just going to measure the width of this decorative little panel there. And that measures 2 3/4. So half of 2 3/4 is, anyone? That's right, 1 3/8. So we're going to measure 1 3/8 down. About right there. So I was pretty close to my first mark. So right here at this intersection, that's where our new hole is going to go. Okay, so next comes the fun part. We're going to go ahead and make a hole in the drawer right here where we marked our mark. I'm just using a regular cordless drill. This has a 1/4 inch drill bit in it, and about the same size as the hole that's here. Okay, so kind of see it fits right in there. You're going to want one of these. This is a dowel. It's a little rod of wood, and 1/4 inch dowel is going to fit in that hole that we're going to be plugging up later on. So that's going to be for the plugging up part. As for right now, we've measured over to the center, we measured down, and we split the center here, so this hole should be right in the center. Grab your drill, put it right on your mark. You can use your thumb there to guide it. And when you're drilling your hole, make absolutely sure that you are level and plumb in all directions. In other words, you don't want to be drilling like this or like this, because if you drill sideways, your hole's going to be sideways, and that's really going to mess with your hardware. You want to be as straight as possible. Take your time, line up your hole, start your drill. A little bit of pressure. Okay, I go through a couple times just to make sure all the little splinters are out and that we've got a nice clean hole inside. Okay, so there we are. There's our hole. You take your tape off, and that's where our new hardware is going to get used. Okay, so next step is we're going to go ahead and plug the original hole, which is right up here, right? So for that, you're going to take a dowel. This is a 1/4-inch dowel. It should match your drill bit, right? So if you were to hold these up together, you see that they're pretty close in diameter. 1/4-inch dowel and some wood glue. This is Tight Bond 2. This is an interior-exterior water-resistant glue. It's just a really good general wood glue that I've been using for years. I'm just brand loyal to it. I love Tight Bond. But there's other great glues out there. You know, Elmer's obviously makes a great glue, and Gorilla's come out with some really good wood glues, polyurethane glues, and all kinds of great adhesives. But yeah, I like sticking with my Tight Bond. So a little bit of glue on there. Okay, and we'll get a little bit here in the hole itself. All right. Okay, and then we're just going to push that dowel, give it a little twist as you're going in, kind of spreads the glue around as you're so when you're pushing through your dowel, I like to come through just ever so slightly. If you can see that, gosh, I say that's maybe about a 1/16 of an inch. So I'm not flush, I'm just a little bit out, or in, if you will. And the reason why I like doing that is it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. I can sand this down and make it nice and smooth. You know, I don't have to worry about it not going all the way through. It's really just a insurance precaution for me to make sure that I've got enough material going through all the way through. So we've got our dowel in there, we've got the glue in. We're gonna let this dry. Get yourself a nice little clean rag, wipe this up, all the excess glue you can. I'm not too worried about getting all that glue off, absolutely off, because this is gonna be a painted piece. So if this was going to be a stained piece, you'd want to get a rag, wet this down with some water, and wipe that down really, really well to make sure you get all of the glue off of the wood. Reason being is if you stain, the glue can cover up some of the grain, and your stain won't penetrate as proper. You know, it won't penetrate properly. So you want to try to get all the glue. It really doesn't matter that if I have a little bit of glue remnants around here. We want it to be as smooth as possible. I'm going to be sanding it, then painting it, so it's all getting covered up. Okay, so that's the second step for replacing the hardware on your furniture piece. We're going to go ahead and let this dry overnight, and then we will come back and cut off the dowel and move on to the final step, which is patching up the hole and making it smooth. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so moving on to the next step of the hardware replacement, which is going to now be patching the old hole to make it disappear, make it look like it was never there. So in the last steps, you saw us drill a new hole for our new hardware, plug up the old one with a dowel, and then cut the dowel off with our little pull saw. Okay, so now you've got a little bit of a raised area here and some splinters. So what I want to grab is a just regular sanding block. This is a foam sanding block. I believe it's 120 grit, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap it in more sandpaper, 120 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to use this as a sanding block, and we're just going to go over this. Okay, and when we're sanding, try to go a little bit past this way and a little bit past this way. Don't just sand right in the area, because you could create a little bit of a dip, and we don't want that. So you're going to go back and forth to get this nice and smooth as possible. So we got this nice and sanded. All right, feels pretty good right there. Then next we're going to go ahead and wipe it down with a tack cloth and clean up all of this area. What you could do is just paint it as is because it's plenty smooth. But the old hardware left some indents. It left a little ring here, and then there's some little imperfections here in our dowel itself. So I want to make this dresser look the absolute best it can, and I want it to look like this hole was always the hole that meant to be there, not this one. Okay, so in order to achieve that look, we're going to get a little bit of quick wood. And this is by JB Weld, and it is an epoxy wood filler. It's made for wood, made for repairs. It's sandable, it's paintable, it's really great stuff. I love using this stuff, and it's quick. Within a couple of hours, this stuff will be ready to sand and paint. So, like I said, really easy to work with, and you just need just a very little. Okay, if you can see in there, there's the two parts. It's a two-part epoxy. You mix it together, makes a chemical reaction, and it starts to turn into a filler putty. Okay, that's probably a little bit better picture of what it looks like. So cut off the size of maybe a nickel, right? Especially for something like this, and then we'll just start kneading it together. Okay, just keep kneading this together until you see a uniform color. It's going to be kind of a beige color, if you can see that there. Alright, it's a little sticky. You got a little bit of a good open time. In other words, it stays sticky and pliable before it starts to harden up on you. So you got a little bit of time. I would say about maybe 5-6 minutes, maybe around there. Okay, and then we're just going to apply it straight to our repair area. And we're going to press it into all of these low parts. This little scratch or gouge that the hardware left before, right there where we placed our dowel. Make sure we get all around, get that pressed in really nice. You don't want to use too much because that just means more sanding for you later. And then just keep on working what we have here. Try to get it as nice and flat as possible. Feather it out, make it nice and smooth at the edges. Over here where the repair is, you want to leave a little bit of material. You don't want to be, or excuse me, you want to leave a little bit of material. You don't want to take too much off because you want those holes and gaps to be filled. Okay, so let me bring that in a little bit closer to show you. All right, so as you can see, we got it all pressed in, and now we'll let that dry. I would let it go overnight. Just to be sure that everything inside is dried. So we'll let that set overnight, and then we'll go ahead and sand it down, and we're ready for prime and paint. Okay, so now that we've got the putty on and it's dried overnight, it's hard enough that we can start sanding it off. Now, I use a foam sanding block, and usually I'll grab another piece of sandpaper, an old one from my sanding disc or from my orbital sander. And the reason why I like using the block is because when you try to get a piece of sandpaper and use your fingers and go across like that, you'll end up putting pressure right here in these 3 spots, right? Or if you're using 2 fingers, these 2 spots. And it just won't be even. Okay, the block, the sponge block, this is a sponge material, allows you to have an even pressure across, and the sponge keeps you from pushing down really hard. So it's kind of like a little insurance policy. So what we're going to do is we're going to sand the area that we put putty on, and when we're sanding, we're not just going to sand right here. You know, of course we want to get a lot of that material off, but we want to go all the way across, back and forth. And what this is going to do, it's going to keep everything as level and on the same plane as possible. Okay, so just going to sand this until we get down to where we want it to be, and I'll show you what that is. So just keep on. Now, as with anything, this is just a demonstration. This is producing dust, so please use the precautions that you feel is necessary, which would be, you know, eye protection, respiratory protection, and ventilation. You know, do this outdoors or in an area that has open doors and windows. This material, when it becomes dust, you don't want to breathe it in. So I'm going to go ahead and mask up, and we'll go ahead and get this sanded down. Okay, so as you can see by these wear marks here, that we sanded well past the repair area. So I'm leaving just a little bit of the putty material there, that way it covers up, and once we get this primed and painted, or in this particular instance just painted, this will disappear and the hole that we made before will be the only one behind. So we'll go ahead and get rid of this dust and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the construction repair part of our project. As you can see, we've just to kind of recap, we went ahead and moved the hole down about an inch. We plugged up the old hole with some putty, and then we sanded that putty down to a nice smooth finish. So all that's left to do is to give this a nice coat of paint. Now normally I would use primer, but for this particular piece we're going to give it a distressed look, which means we're going to sand the edges and kind of make it look like it's old and worn in, and I don't want the primer to show through on that. So we're just going to go ahead and go straight with paint. This is a General Finishes milk paint, and the color is lamp black. And as you can see there, this is just the first coat. The repair will completely disappear. Okay, so I'm going to keep on painting this. I want to thank you for watching our video. Please stay tuned to see the final reveal on how the whole dresser looks with its new hardware. But if you like this type of information, again, please subscribe to our channel and share it with a friend. If you hit that little bell, you'll be notified when a new video is uploaded by us to YouTube. And so that's it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I'd be happy to get to any one of them, and I'll answer each one of them as they come in. All right, thanks.